Good evening, everyone. Robert Stevenson. It is 5:31 on Monday, March the 24th. We're giving a call to order the Southwood Collin Granville Regional School District School Committee for this evening. Can I get a motion to enter into the meeting? Someone. Second. Can I get a show of hands? Aaron, let the record show the motion passes 4-0-0. Can I get everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's fine. Consent agenda, we've got state field trip in the minutes. Got any issues on that? If not, we will move forward. Warrants, we got 3 or 4 warrants signed here this evening. If you guys can take care of that, that would be fantastic. Superintendent Willard, do we have any correspondence this evening?
I do not.
Look at that. We are at the most exciting 4 minutes of the meeting. Magnolia, it's all you.
Okay, so 7th, 8th, and 10th graders have MCAS tomorrow, so the rest of us get to start for 3 hours. I'm very excited about it. The DLE program has their end of the year reception ceremony on April 16th, where all DLE students, their families, and their mentors will commemorate the hard work of the students and the informative experiences they have each had at their internships. Fourth quarter starts in 2 weeks. There are some music students that are going to see the Boston Pops on April 10th. There will be a cabaret night student talent show on April 11th. And weather permitting, right flight day on April 14th. This Wednesday, we've been talking about it in school. I don't know if we talked about it or I've talked about it here, but the district attorney's office is having their, is that the basketball hall thing?
Youth advisory.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
youth advisory board is mine. Yes, stop Swerve. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Yes, stop the Swerve event. So kids are welcome to go with their parents. Everyone will get there. They'll have a little talk. Then the kids can go in the room, kind of like we did like a couple years ago in the school. We'll have different activities like drunk driving simulators. I think they have VR goggles that like simulate texting while driving, which is pretty cool. Then the parents will stay and they'll talk to them about. I guess parents think it's legal to have kids over and provide them with alcohol if they take their keys away. And it's not. I don't know why people think that's legal. But they're going to talk about that hosting parties. And they also have the contest. They'll announce the winners of which school won the Billboard and which won the PSA. So that is this Wednesday, 5:30 at Basketball Hall of Fame. Very fun. Please go. And lastly, some students, including myself, from Mr. Castro's AP Government and the mock trial team, went to the State Committee and House Ways and Means Committee hearing on rural school funding and just the budget in general at UMass Amherst. It was very, very interesting. They left out a bad part though, which we could have stayed, but it was very fun. I learned a little bit. Yeah, I didn't really know, like, I thought there was gonna be questioning more about like rural school funding. It was kind of like all about the budget. Sorry, I missed the good part though. But yeah, that's all I have.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Of course.
All right. So now we have the pleasure of bringing up some representatives of our PAC advisory committee that have been working very diligently on our little program. Absolutely. On our program this year. So got a podium set up. So those of you that are speaking, we thought we'd give you a spot. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're all gonna speak a little bit. We all did different pieces, worked on different pieces. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for having us in your meeting. We appreciate it. So we're excited to present the work that the PAC committee has been doing to create a more inclusive, compassionate and supportive environment for all the students in the STGRSD community. So I'd like to introduce our PAC advisory committee who dedicated their time and energy to this important work. We're a mix of parents and educators and community members, and we're all like-minded, coming together to try to provide you guys with some ideas on how to promote the values of our community. So we have Nicole Parker, Dan Rickton, I'm Christine Kaczynski. Nice to meet you all. Megan Banks, Todd Burley, Allison Lopez, Lawrence Hurd, Sarah Panel. I'm so sorry, butcher this, Panalola. Eric Carrier, Chuck Jasek, Carolyn Roberts, and Stephanie Richmond. Our mission statement, as the acronym states, we're promoting acceptance and compassion together. We're an advisory committee dedicated to fostering a culture of inclusion and equity within our. So we're bringing together students, parents, staff, and community members. Yeah, we'd just like to provide you guys with different perspectives and innovative ideas to promote acceptance, belonging, and understanding throughout our schools. And we believe that meaningful change happens when we listen to diverse voices and implement strategies that create a welcoming environment for students. And, additionally, I think too, for parents, that understanding and being able to draw them and have them collaborate on this. Next, board goals, supporting student success, inclusivity is very, very important. We understand that. To advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, to identify the barriers, and to recommend improvements. And we're all happy to be here and be able to be part of this committee to do that. To enhance cultural awareness, what can we do? Providing ideas to help foster these values that we brought together to promote and foster community collaboration. How can we bring everybody together, be on the same page? It's really important. And I think that is gonna make all the difference. Okay, so next we're going to dive into the specific action steps we've developed to meet these goals. We've broken them down into 3 timelines: immediate needs, short-term plans, and long-term plans. And everybody has a little bit to say about this.
So if the immediate needs want to come on up, okay. Hello, I'm Megan Banks, and I'm going to talk about the immediate needs that we'd like to address. First, we'd like to walk through the changes that we want to implement within this school year. For advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we'd like to request a study by the Director of Curriculum and Instruction to assess how well our clubs, teams, and extracurriculars represent the diversity of our student body. Based on that study's findings, we would like to determine next steps to ensure that all students feel seen and represented. We want to create opportunities for open dialogue among students around identity, culture, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and abilities, providing students with a safe space to share their experiences and learn from one another. With the goal of fostering community collaboration, we want to increase student interaction across classes and grade levels to create a more cohesive student body. We'd like to support collaboration between building administrations to increase school-to-school interaction, having SRS students assist at Powder Mill and Woodland Field Day, or offering a special preview of the SRS Drama Club performances to the younger students. We'd also like to work with town officials to create more community events and collaborate with state legislators to ensure adequate funding for our schools. And we'd like to improve communication by linking school newsletters to town websites so families have better access to that information. We would like to enhance cultural awareness by recommending that each school visually represent different cultures within the school environment with flags, posters, bulletin boards, and other visible elements. We'd also like to recommend that the staff is trained in restorative justice, which will help them support student behavior through an equity lens and align with student expectations. And looking at supporting student access, we'd ask the 3 building leaders to present the school committee on PBIS systems, which is positive behavioral intervention, highlighting successes and areas for growth. We would also like to request a study on the demographics of our students enrolled in AP honors and CP classes, and look at elementary literacy data to identify any gaps in representation or performance. These immediate needs will help us create a stronger foundation for support and inclusion this school year. Thank you. Next, we're going to look at short-term assistance.
I have a very short one, just the first one, advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. By next year, we'd love to have school climate teams at each of the buildings. And this will ensure that staff and students feel a strong sense of belonging. These teams will assess school culture, provide feedback, recommend changes. My experience with SRS, I think a key part of this will be having stakeholders from all of the places where this is going on. So we've got a connections group that Roberts is involved in. We've got a new SEL curriculum, K-12, that we're working on diligently and integrating. We've got Serena's running focus groups with students. We have these different pieces, but I just feel like it would be super cool to have a committee, with all of these people, a representative from all of these pieces on this committee to kind of unify our efforts. So that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to cover number 2, which is fostering community collaboration. And this is really about bringing a place and space that extends beyond the classroom. So a couple of things we're going to look at here. For number 1, the IT department will look at some moderated digital spaces that will provide a safe space for some additional dialogue, both with students and then in the lower grades, allowing parents to get in on the conversation as well. Next, we'll look to increase the number of evening events, things like team nights, dodgeball tournaments, to really give students more opportunities to be able to socialize and to have, again, a safe space inside the school so that they can build and foster those relationships. We'll also look to establish a yearly school committee public forum. So there's yet another way for the community voices to be heard and valued. And then finally, we would like to introduce an STG night in Tallinn and in Granville so that we're really extending out where those activities take place and giving students in that community a chance to have it on their home space.
Okay, and then looking at our third section to enhance cultural awareness, we wanted to do a district-wide event to celebrate cultural diversity and showcase student learning in social studies and history. So to host a quarterly cultural break, it's an event focused on expanding students' understanding of the world cultures through art, entertainment, and guest speakers. And the school lunch program will also reflect this diversity by introducing options like World Foods Wednesday and Global Grub Day. Just to kind of draw people in and make them more aware of, other people's cultures, their food background. We thought that would be something that would be really important. And then to support student success, we'll implement the findings from the demographic and subgroup study to improve student outcomes. And we'll also provide more information about available services, clubs, and sports to families, helping them better navigate school resources on specific nights. So these short-term plans are all about creating a more supportive and engaging school environment. Next, we have the long term.
I'm Dot. So finally, we're going to talk about our long-term goals. So the broader, more complex changes we hope to achieve over the next 2 to 4 years. So starting with advocating for diversity, we'll continue to review and update our curricula to ensure that they reflect the diversity of our student body and meet high academic standards. And the SRS will research and implement a junior National Honor Society for grades 7 to 9. To create more leadership opportunities and recognition opportunities for middle school students. And we also would like to plan and introduce a community project or engagement hours project for our graduating seniors. So as a graduation requirement to strengthen students' ties to the community. So we would ideally be something that would be started early in high school and follow with them to graduation. Yes.
I'm Dan Richmond. Some of what I have is going off of the short-term goals as well. But we'd like long-term to strengthen the teacher collaboration, between all of the grades, which we just think would be important to have everybody on the same page through all the schools. And then one of the things we discussed a bunch was trying to expand the school committee public forum, which may not happen during school committee, possibly another meeting to be set where, we noticed last year during some of the larger school meetings, a lot of people had things to say, and having 3 minutes to talk just wasn't enough. And, something where the community would have a chance to be able to, have a time to voice themselves or have an actual open dialogue instead of just somebody talking to somebody and not being able to have a response. Then another long-term hope in the cultural awareness was to try to have like a community event where it would be a music, art, food festival, trying to have a real variety of people coming and speakers, and also, try to get as many people as we can, coming. And then lastly that I have is trying to teach in the Southwick schools some more of the history of people of color in Southwick. Is a lot of history, more I'm sure than I know, that kids don't know about. I'm sure even the teachers don't know about. It would be nice to actually teach to the students of what's going on in the area, in the history of local history, and not just national stuff.
And I'll wrap up our long-term with support student success. So we'll provide more opportunities for parents and caregivers to learn about healthy, safety, academic growth, and social development so that they feel better prepared to support their children at home. And we also had suggestions about researching and implementing a mentoring program where younger students can connect with trusted older peers and, for guidance and support. So having, our high schoolers go down to Powder Mill, or Powder Mill kids go to Woodland, so there's more integration as they come up, so that, when someone comes from Woodland up to Powder Mill, there's some familiar faces possibly. And then lastly, hosting a career day, bring the community into the school so that, the kids can explore different options for careers and, prepare them for life after high school. And it's a great opportunity for the community to kind of showcase what they've got going on too. So these action steps represent our commitment to building a school environment where every student feels supported, valued, and challenged. So by working together with students, families, and the broader community, we can create lasting positive change. And we want to thank you for your attention for all that. Is there somebody else talking? Peter? I'm not sure. You want to.
It's the last slide we've got.
Okay, good.
All right. Thank you very much for all of that information.
We'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. The group has met diligently and really had a lot of discussion around many of these topics and can expand on any single one of them that you were to ask. There's been a lot put into them, I can say.
What's a climate team?
That's what I was gonna ask.
A climate team, it would be a team of teachers, possibly teachers and students that would be focused on the climate of the school. So you would be giving like regular surveys that they could look at the data and respond to, and just.
So what kind of surveys? Surveys are a little bit of a challenge. We've run into
Yes,
issues in the
they
past
are.
with surveys.
They
So
are.
surveys are a little tricky. What do we got? What kind of surveys are we thinking about giving out to the kids?
About how they're going, go ahead.
Sorry, there's surveys that are like sent out as like, it was supposed to be, I feel like every other Wednesday, I'm pretty sure, but it was on Wednesdays, but I don't remember the last time we had one. But it's just asking the students how they feel in the school environment, climate,
Okay, gotcha.
and how they feel with teachers, and if they feel like their teachers are responding to them in proper ways, and like.
Okay, so maybe the same survey taken multiple times over, so to get
Yeah,
the same
like,
information,
yeah.
you see if there's a change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Alright.
you have an adult that you feel you're talking to?
Yeah.
Do you
Yep.
feel safe in your classroom with your peers? Do you feel, there are a lot of
Gotcha.
questions around that.
And it's most effective if students and professionals
Yes.
are involved
Yes.
in implementing that and looking at the data. And my follow-up question to Mr. Stevenson's was, would such a climate action team also be in part responsible for implementing or facilitating the implementation of some of these amazing suggestions? Because like, there's some of these are just phenomenal. It's kind of a lot more than maybe feasible right now. But I think my biggest concern is like, okay, once we have this amazing menu of ideas, where do we go from here? And then like, how do we focus and how does it get implemented? And I know that some of this stuff we're certainly already doing and can be built upon. And some of the administrators right now are very actively already starting to do that. I mean, just within the past few months, I've seen a lot more communication and collaboration among the 3 schools. And I think that that's amazing and that we can capitalize on that and keep on doing that. But then some of these other things may be a little bit harder to implement, and we don't already have like a baseline of things going on here. And I wouldn't want everything to fall onto the shoulders of administrators who obviously already.
Well, it's
Right,
just so that everybody understands, I mean, obviously, the whole purpose of this and why we wanted to create the committee was exactly for this. To get ideas from a very diverse group of people that could help move the needle in the right direction. I think you guys have done a fantastic job
Absolutely.
giving us ideas short term. Now, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it's gonna be tough for any of these short term plans and at the beginning of April to try to get implemented before the end of the school year.
But I'm gonna just interrupt to say,
Some of them may be already done.
happening.
That's
That's
what I'm
what
saying,
ideas
some of them
came
are
out,
happening.
we started
Yeah.
to do some, you know, just today, the Kindness Club from SRS came down and was working with the Powder Mill Kindness Club, which is really a group looking at school culture, among the students. And so, you know, they were coming down to have that talk, we had the play. What they came down, which is an idea that was put forward by this group and happened, that they came down and did
That's
a
what I'm
dress
saying, like,
rehearsal.
we're seeing some of this.
And there may be a South Lake Town Granville Starfires night in the works. With a possible tie into the police and fire, if we can get them to be willing to play against our high school athletes and get them up a little bit. But I might be putting that together right now to have an actual like town event that is cross all the buildings with the high school students playing baseball, the middle school students playing their instruments to do the God Bless America, and the Woodland students doing high fives as the team comes out of the dugout. So all of our groups would be represented, and then we'd have our community first responders possibly involved in the game against high school students. We're working.
Great idea, and I mean, we talked about this at the sports quarterly meeting that I have with the principal and the athletic director. We're looking to, and I challenge them to increase the interaction that we have between our high school sports and our rec center sports that we have in town. That's something that we, from the town of South Lake, are very unique from a lot of the other towns out there. That we have a nonprofit group that really runs youth athletics. So we want to get more of those kids involved at the high school games, at being ball boys, at giving high fives to the team when they come out on the court. I mean, I think this is all wonderful, wonderful ideas. And I mean, some of those, yeah, we can get those moving. One of the other questions I've got on the immediate needs, I'm interested to find out, what do you guys, on the first one, about the study for the director of curriculum, looking at the representation with clubs, teams, and extracurriculars to determine if all groups are represented. I got that. Present to admin team to consider what are the next steps? What are we looking to try to accomplish? If we're able to get that done, what are we hoping to identify and what are we looking to have?
Well, we're looking to see if there are groups that are not represented within these extracurricular activities, and if so, why are they not represented?
Okay.
Do they not have
Do they
the
not-
opportunity?
Do they not have the opportunity? Do they not feel comfortable there? Is it just something that hasn't really occurred to them? You know, there are lots of reasons, but
that we're doing our part to make sure that we're reaching out to everyone and
Right.
making it.
So from an opportunity perspective, rather than a result oriented, right? I mean, that's the
Right,
biggest thing. We
just
wanna
to
make sure
answer the question,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
what are we offering?
Right.
Who's taking part, right? And then to determine and then there's action required beyond that, and then if so, what would the appropriate action be? Am I understanding? I love the way that you guys organized this. I love the way you kind of divided it into buckets and then bullet pointed within buckets. I think that giving us a framework to work within and that the priorities are recurring over and over again, like it's clear to me like where the interests and the priorities are. And I absolutely love that. I especially, one thing that I really, really like was the community engagement ideas and the ideas for the community engagement hours. And, you know, thinking about what you just mentioned about athletics, I know that our cross-country and now track coach has required his athletes to do community service hours as part of involvement on the team. And I really
I know
feel-
somebody who's really in that corner.
Yeah.
Jason is a huge fan of
I
that.
And whether it may be easier to start there than graduation requirements, or at least pilot it at that level, especially since that's already in place for at least 2 of our teams, if not more. But like requiring every athlete, you know, it may be 2 hours, right, per season. But I feel like that is an awesome thing to build
I
into
don't think
that
it'd be very
priority.
difficult to get it to really move forward quickly, because if you look and the other one I like, and I don't know how feasible it is, but the junior National Honor Society, I think great idea.
Right.
But the last couple of years when I had one of my children in that, the year that Zoe got added in, probably 95% of every one of the kids that are part of the National Honor Society were part of one or more of our sports teams.
Right.
And all of them have volunteer activities that they have to do in order to
Well,
get on.
I mean,
I don't think it's a big stretch for that group to get involved with that in a rapid manner, because most of them are doing it already.
Well, just even so that the upperclassmen know when they go to apply for NHS, because honestly, for NHS, you need 100 hours of community service, right? And that deters a lot of kids because that's an overwhelming number when you get to be a junior or a senior. But if you knew early on, if you knew as a 7th and 8th grader that, hey, if I want to get into NHS as a junior and senior, I should start building my community services hours now. And if there were opportunities within multiple aspects of our school community, that like, I feel like we would have more kids in NHS because that 100 hours wouldn't seem so overwhelming by the time you get to an upperclassman. So these are examples of how I think all of these ideas are amazing and that we can tie them into the scaffolding that we already have.
So the beauty of this, from a school committee perspective, is that 99% of these do not require the school committee vote. This is not a policy issue, it's not a financing issue. And again, the reason I wanted the committee is so that we could get these ideas, bring it to the administrative team and say, okay, you now have a bucket of really good ideas that we can implement. What ones do you like? What ones do you think are feasible for us to be able to look at? We can certainly help them if it is, and goes into a financial requirement of how do we figure that out. That's where we would get involved, obviously from the budget side. But this is more than I could have expected from you guys, so congratulations, you guys have done a phenomenal job. Now, the question really is, and we don't need to make this decision tonight, but the question really is these subcommittees or advisory committees they're on a limited basis and they're an advisory committee. I'm there's gonna need to be a period of time for the administrative team to look at this and say, okay, what ones of these things can we do, how we do it? It may be something where, you know what, for this year, you guys have done a great job. Now the question is, well, for you to meet going forward right now before we get a chance to digest and look at and identify whether we can or can't and what ones we're looking to be able to implement. It may be one of these that, you know what, once we figure this out, this group of people may need to morph into a different kind of committee that we can put together. So I'm almost, and again, this isn't a decision we make tonight. But I'm almost wondering whether, do you feel that the mission that you guys, which I thought was very well done, the mission that we wanted to do this year, that you guys have now presented to us, do you feel you've accomplished the mission in which you were asked to participate?
I don't think until anything has actually been done, would I feel like we've accomplished.
That wasn't, but that, okay, but here's the thing, that
Well,
wasn't.
you
your-
asked me and I.
No, no, I understand.
I answered.
But that wasn't your mission. The mission was to get a diverse group of people together to be able to come up and present ideas that the school district could look at and potentially implement to approve and move this needle going forward. That was the mission. The mission wasn't to oversee and make sure that what you presented was put into place and to guide that's a different mission. Do you feel you've accomplished what we asked you guys to do at the beginning of this when we started it?
I would say no.
No, yeah.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's more ideas?
I think there could be a whole lot more ideas. I think with the
Okay.
timeframe that we had and the short span, I think we tried to get something on paper
Mhm.
just to present. I think, we should be way deeper into where we're supposed to. And we're really not touching on the core of the reason why this committee was created.
Okay.
So I think.
Well, fair enough.
I feel like instead of kind of setting just one goal and then saying, okay, did we reach this? We're good to stop here until it's like time for the next step, just keep adding more. Until everything else is kind of put out, like, I don't think there's just a point where you just need to stop,
Okay.
like, I feel like there's.
Sure, I didn't know what the answer was. That's why I asked you guys for your opinion.
So I guess my,
So-
my follow-up question is like, from our perspective, this is an amazing first start, right? From your perspective, what do you see as next for you? Would it be adding to this or would it be a different type of?
I think as Sly said, continue to add to it, but I think we have to start to implement pieces of it to feel as though we are, right, we are actually stepping off the platform. I think we can put a lot of things on paper and continue to add, but unless we start to execute it, then we just adding stuff to paper. So I think we need to look at what we have, continue to add, but execute some of the short-term things that we feel is necessary and important. I know we only have a few more months for the year, but at least if we were to present to the school administrator that this is what we have and this is what we would like to do, we set flags. We don't need to wait until September to put some flags up to identify the students of the school. So I think those are little things that we can start with. At least say that we did not sit in a room for how many months and just made a beautiful presentation and put words of paper in and nothing happened.
Everything that is placed on paper, it looks good to us, because we see it and we're like, okay, this is what we have in mind. But the kids in the school are not seeing this. They are not experiencing what we are putting on paper. They don't know this is coming. So we're not done.
I like what we've done so far. Personally, what I would like to do is like kind of split up in half or whatever and have one group concentrating on more school stuff and one group concentrating on community stuff. That's what I personally like.
Yeah, this time, we split originally by time period,
Yeah,
but maybe now refocusing on the actual overarching goals and start digging in across time to those.
So there's a
And
big
I think
difference.
just being able to help, like you said, talking to the administrators at some point, having them hear some of this conversation. Because like you said, some of these are things which are fiscal, but many are not, creating opportunities for open dialogue. That's not something that's gonna be fiscal, but it's gonna just take some thought and some input around what it could look like and what would actually be beneficial to the groups.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone, for your effort and your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody on the school committee else, but anybody got any other questions? Ed?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
Define community.
That's a tough one. I
I
think,
know it's a tough one. That's the
yeah,
one
I mean, I think right now it's all of the places that we live, so Southwick, Tallinn, Granville, it's the people who are involved in our schools. I think it expands, we know we have students from other geographical areas, we have teachers living, so we are an amalgamation.
Anybody that does business.
That have, yeah, we have a relationship and a stake in the future of these 3 buildings and all of the children that go to them.
Yeah, well, the 3 buildings are fine. Community, in Southwick is great. But what do you do for this, the student that lives out in the barrens of Tallinn?
And and that's one of the things we did talk about, is we need to go to the community. Like many of our students who are from Southwick haven't been to Tallinn, and we've said, we need to think about, STG night in Tallinn. When are we going up to Tallinn and having an
This is what
event?
I'm,
Yeah, that our kids can see that, I'm a part of a school district and the school district is part of me. They come to me and I go to them. It's not fair that our kids always come and that we're not hopping in our vehicles and having some events. So
We
it
even
is a
talked
two-way.
about, like, if we did an event out in Tallinn, it was a Friday night event, seeing if we could get everybody in Southwick driving to the school, hop on a school bus, do a reverse busing to Tallinn for the event, so parents can't say, I'm not driving all the way up there.
Yep.
Well,
And that's part of
everybody
the
as a
reason.
community is gonna come here and together drive
Right.
up there.
And I'd just like to add the other 2 towns in this bullet point about the
Yes.
history and
Mhm.
identify
Yep.
people.
Exactly.
Because, in my town of Granville, I just learned that we had one of the first
Yes.
African-American ministers in the entire country, ever, in our tiny little town, right across the street from where I live. I just learned this. And my question was, well, how come they don't learn this in school, And so it's those little tidbits that apply, I think, to all 3 towns, which is just amazing. And yes, I completely agree with you, Ted, and it seems like the committee is on board with it.
Granville is representative.
Yep, we have Granville
Yes.
on the committee. Yep.
We have Tallinn represented on the committee as well, too.
I'm over in the corner. I'm on the Tallinn Cultural Council,
Oh,
and that would be something that we could possibly coordinate with our Tallinn Cultural Council to arrange an event like that.
Or are you doing the Granville? Library with the watercolor?
oh, yes, the Watercolor Club is going to be a part of a show at the Granville Cooley. And the opening at the Cooley Bar.
Yes, awesome.
Cooley Company Barn, I don't know because I don't have the details of the date yet, I just know that it's an event all about birds and art. And so the Watercolor Club is painting birds that will be for sale. Students can make some money, if someone wants to buy their art, that will be on display.
So I don't see this committee dissolving in any
No,
way.
that's fine.
I see this committee focusing, you have done such good work so far, these are very intelligent, productive people. I see this committee just kind of morphing more as a partnership for facilitating, getting things done even outside the schools and in the community. Because I think that you're all really valuable resources, and I thank you for your time and your efforts.
Fantastic. Oh, yes.
I'm not too sure if this goes along with the school climate team, but I feel like after all of like the surveys that we do and the forms, I think we should have like a assembly, yes, assembly. And I think we should present the data that we received from the forms, showing how those people feel and like kind of ranking that. And showing the kids, this is how their peers feel. And like, I feel like demonstrating change. Like, I also was talking about it with my mom, and I feel like we should do something where a few kids go up on stage and we do like a game, sort of, and everybody would close their eyes, we'd ask a question, who got like yelled at this morning, who like, how'd your morning go? And then like, they'll like put their hand up, and then everybody will open their eyes and see like, it could like also kind of show that you never know what kind of day somebody's having and how your words can like have an effect on that person. And I feel like that would kind of go along with the survey just a little bit. But the survey, like the data was kind of amazing.
I think that's a really important piece.
Because I think what you're saying is that Surveys are just paper
Yeah,
until someone reads them and acts on them.
Exactly.
And that's the difference of a culture committee, is they're the ones taking that paper, looking at them and saying to themselves, okay, now what do we implement?
yes.
You know, and one of the things we talked about with that, opportunities for conversation, and that was what your mom brought last time, that we really need that. The kids have to have more opportunity for conversation. We also need to create the safe space for them to do that. Because if we don't create the space first, then there's no conversation gonna happen, you know, and those pieces are so intertwined, and we need to start now. Because we're just losing time.
Yes, it's short term, but I feel like it can happen. It's a survey, it's pretty easy, so I think it's like, it could be immediate.
Didn't go out. Or it did.
No, it did. You were talking about some that went out earlier. And then when we talked about, one of the ideas being a culture group, that was brought up as something that they often do. A culture group is getting information via possibly a survey, most commonly a survey, to actually start to digest through and then start to think about how do we make plans. So for example, we do have a high school teacher group right now that has been operating and has been looking at some teacher surveys to try to get some information about what their colleagues are thinking, and then try to create action plans based on what they've heard from their colleagues and the things they want to do to create a space for the teachers. With the idea that as the teachers are growing and trusting each other, then they can start to take that to the students more.
Aaron, I think it's important to mention, this isn't just a group of teachers, they're being led by William James College, and they're
Right.
getting a degree. And that we're extending it next year and expanding it to 4 additional teachers to really work on the climate at SRS.
Super. All right.
Yeah, they get like a.
Thank you.
Thank you all. If you want to stay for the rest, because I know one of the things you said in here was advocating for
But at the same time, if you have a little baby to go home to, that's days old and yeah, thank you for coming to dinner. Yeah.
Before the house is on fire, right? Being multiple times. We do this. Tell her, always say hi.
So, Superintendent Wheeler.
Okay, so one of the things they mentioned was advocacy for our towns. So last Friday, Director of Finance and Operations, Nick Bernier and I attended a town school stakeholders meeting in Ludlow with towns such as Granby, Munson, East Long Meadow, Long Meadow, Belchertown, Ludlow.
On Meadow with the,
Hampton, Wilbraham. So a lot of school districts are what we're calling hold harmless place right now, where we're not getting any additional funding from the state of Massachusetts. And what we're doing is we're trying to like not work in isolation, but work together and collaborate. So it's one unified message coming from all of us. Currently superintendents have Project 211. It was extended this year to Project 211 plus 21. Last year there were 211 school districts who were hold harmless, which means all we received from Chapter 70 funding from the state was the minimum per pupil, which started off in the governor's budget for $35 per student. It ending up at 104 at the end of the year. This year, the governor's budget started it at $75, which leads me into the next part of it, which is the House Ways and Means that Magnolia was mentioning earlier. Again, Nick and I attended the House Ways and Means meeting today at UMass with the Secretary of Education, the Commissioner of Education, the head of school committees, superintendents, secondary education, early childhood education. And there was a huge turnout from the Rural School Coalition, which I am proudly wearing our shirts made from Mohawk Trail. Rural schools make up 38,011 students, and the names of all of us are on the back. All of us are currently in hold harmless. We all have a declining enrollment. And we are all making significant cuts to our budget because we're not being adequately funded by the state. So the Secretary of Education presented the governor's budget, and the House Ways and Means, right, you guys left. really started pushing back on rural school aid and that it was level funded at 16 million in the governor's budget, and that's just not okay. We aren't operating on a scale of efficiency in rural schools because we have, say, 20 kids leaving, but they're not leaving in a pocket of 20. So it's not like you can cut a teacher, it's not like you can cut a principal, like you can't get our enrollments going down and we have no additional funding. Insurance is going up, teachers' raises are going up, and it's falling on the taxpayers because we're not getting any additional funding. This is a system set up for failure right now, and it's becoming a crisis situation in the state of Massachusetts. So, we did attend the House Ways and Means. Myself and 3 other superintendents are going to be meeting in the next few weeks to, try and, make a testimony, possibly on April 8th, at the state Senate meeting, on the rural schools and the necessary increased funding or the promise to increase rural school aid, just like they did with the SOA. We did 2 math today. It's either 27% of school districts or 18%. We're still trying to figure it out, are receiving student opportunity money. The rest of us are not receiving anything except for the minimum per pupil. So I was so glad to see some of our students today, see government in action. And I'd like to see that our state reps are really starting to push for rural school aid so that we can keep offering courses and classes and the arts that our students deserve. So
And I just got a text from 22 News, so.
what did it say?
My friend just said we were on 22
They
News.
were on.
Oh, you were on 22
Yeah.
News?
Yeah. Well, there were a couple like young kids with like posters near us, so I think we just got caught in the background, but still.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
You were famous,
That
was-
basically what you're telling me.
Great.
My
That was
question
great.
was, how many other students were there?
So there were other student groups. The ones who were holding signs were very, very young. But I think they were with their parents. There was Amherst Pell in front of us. They walked out. Quabbin was there. And I think there were other like student groups, but I couldn't identify because some were wearing shirts and some weren't.
Right.
So it was hard to tell, but
Right.
there were definitely other students there.
Good.
That's for sure. And there was some protesting outside as we were coming in. I know that.
And how many of you guys from Southwood went?
3 of us from Gov, and then 3 from mock trial, not including myself, because all the sophomores and freshmen that wanted to go can't because we have MCAS. So it was only for juniors and seniors to,
Got it.
but it was very fun, very educational.
It was great to see government in action, wasn't it?
Yes,
And
it
how
was good prep for my,
slow it moves though.
Yes.
Yeah,
good prep for my AP test.
oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
All right, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Um,
I'll do the Southwick master plan at the next meeting.
Mr. Bernier, what you got tonight?
Just a quick update on the search to replace Mr. Wykander, whose last day will be this coming Friday. The position's been posted for a couple weeks now. I think there's about 13 or 14 applicants in school spring at this point. My next steps will be to form just a small interview committee. I'm thinking probably a school committee member, a principal. I would like 2 custodians on it. And probably Betsy Tatro would be. We'll decide who we're gonna interview and, pull people in. I would think either late next week or early the week after at this point. Because we wanna make sure we do our diligence, but also, get someone in there quickly. That's a mission critical position. And, we're attempting to replace somebody with a lot of institutional knowledge, who really has diligently cared for and worked in those buildings for quite some time. So I just want to give the committee an update as to where we are, plans are gonna be.
I'll be away end of next week. You guys wanna be on that? From our side? What's your schedule, like you and I usually are the ones that. We'll get back to you.
Perfect.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I even have a name I'll talk to you about later, but might be a good person to put on that.
Put that on the committee.
A
Great.
former school committee member who also ran the schools for West Springfield as the head of their maintenance.
Okay, that would be good knowledge to have.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
He was- He's helped out the town of Southwick, you know, when we were short on people. You know, came out of retirement, you know, things like that, so.
Great, yeah, we'll chat later, thank you.
All right, policies, this is just a notification, we have started in our policy subcommittee looking at section J. So everybody put on notice that we are basically first reading section J now. And then what we did come up with tonight, we've got A and B ready to go at second reading. And what we're gonna end up doing is sort of presenting it, giving everybody a heads up, any questions that we've got. We'll do it at a follow-up at the like meeting when we do the second review. And then we would go to a third review. We probably, at the third review, put it on like a consent agenda, because we're doing chapters on math. So I mean, with the second read where we would ask the questions, kind of solving the issues.
Right. So for the I mean, because basically, you know, we typically have 3 readings for a policy. And I think that the best way, because there's such enormous policies, the best way to get through it is for first read to be at the subcommittee level.
Yeah, well, we announce it here and that's what we do, yeah.
First read is at the subcommittee level. Second read is the one where the whole committee really should be involved. And for second read, get it out to you guys in advance of that meeting. Second read is where we ask questions and talk about it. And then third read, it just goes into the consent agenda items. If there's no more further discussion needed, then we can take a vote there. That way, we're not discussing it 3 meetings, but that we really focused on reading number 2 to be the discussion.
No, that you're right.
Saying
on
that
the-
correctly?
Yeah, because I mean, it's, everybody's gonna need to do some homework. I mean,
Right.
we've gone through this stuff for the last 2 years. So we're finally at a point now where, and once it's all done, what will end up happening, just for everybody here at the table and online, or we're watching this later. Right now, you can go onto our website and you can find the school committee policies, and they're all there, and they're all kind of lined up together, and you look at the contents, and you can figure out where the stuff is. Once we get this all done, there will be links that go directly to basically MASC, and they'll have all of our policies, each individual one, where you can pull it up, each one of them instantaneously, and then if there's any adjustments, that gets done right away. So it's gonna be a much
Right now, it's a
cleaner.
nightmare to try to get to
Yeah.
the policy.
It's gonna be a much cleaner, sort of streamlined utilization. There's a number of districts already in this area that use a similar service, and it's very simple to go on and pull policies, so. We are getting there, but this has certainly been a yeoman's effort to get through this. But we're almost there. We got the last 3 chapters, or sections to do. So. All right. Action items.
I move to approve consent agenda items as listed above, recommended.
So moved.
Second. Get a show of hands to approve this. Aaron, let the record show the motion passes 4-0-0. All right, you ready? You got water?
I know.
This section might be a little longer for you.
Move to approve the fiscal year 2026 Southwick Town and Granville Regional School District assessment ratios to the member towns as follows. Operating assessment ratio, Southwick 85.036%, Holland 2.499%, Granville 12.465%, for a total of 100%. Capital assessment ratios 83.114% for Southwick, 3.752% for Holland, 13.134% for Granville, for a total of 100% recommended.
So
Anybody have any questions on that? No, show of hands to approve the motion. Aaron, let the record show the motion passes 4-0-0.
Move to approve the Southwick Town and Granville Regional School District fiscal year 2026 budget in the amount of $28,929,812 recommended.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on that? Show of hands to approve the motion. Aaron, let the record show the motion passes 4-0-0.
Move to approve the fiscal year 2026 Southwick Town and Granville Regional School District assessments to the member towns as follows. Operating assessment transportation, Southwick 85.036% for $1,130,728 assessment. Holland 2.499% for $33,229. Granville .465% for $165,748. For capital assessment for Southwick, 83.114% at $1,626,042. For Tolland, 3.752%, $73,404. Randville, 13.134% at $256,953. Minimum contribution of Southwick of $10,556,318. Holland, $263,579. Granville, $1,481,537. For discretionary charges to Southwick at 85.036%, $979,476. For Tolland, 2.499%, $28,785. Granville, 12.465%, $143,577. Non-discretionary district services to towns for Southwick, $111,919. Holland is zero. Granville, $54,791. For total assessment to Southwick of $14,404,483. To Tolland, $398,997. And Granville, $2,102,606 recommended.
So moved. Second.
You need you to read that again. Well, I do have a question, we're gonna vote on it real quick, but why do we list the minimum local contribution for the towns? We're not directing that, that's directed by the state.
I don't know, I was just going
We had-
on what was given to me last year.
I think
It's a good idea to identify it, but
let people know
but we're
exactly
not
what's
approving
going
that
on.
number, that's numbers
Yeah,
being
but
dictated by the state,
it
right?
should be out there.
Right,
Should be out
exactly,
there.
and it
Fair
should be
enough.
clear that that's our struggle.
Right,
Mhm.
it's tax dollars.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Any other discussion?
Rural school aid
That's it.
Right.
We'll have an action item to vote on the school.
for it.
Can I get a show of hands to approve the motion? Yeah, the record showing the motion passes 4-0.
Move to approve the authorization to incur debt by the issuance and sale of bonds or notes up to the amount of $515,000 for the purchase of all items specified in the STGRSD FY 26 capital improvement plan as follows. HVAC improvements and grounds maintenance. Boiler project, Woodland Design, $103,000. Boiler project, Southwick Regional School Study and Design, $220,000. And track repair maintenance, $192,000.
Restoration,
Restoration, thank you. I knew that wasn't the right
restoration
word.
project.
Restoration, thank you.
Do we want to amend that? to say
Yes.
restoration
Yes.
project?
Yes.
So let's make- Can I get, there we go, can I get a motion to amend the recommendation? Okay, so we want this to say track
Restoration.
restoration
Project.
project. So Aaron, we need to make sure that that changes in the minutes. And can I get a show of hands to approve that adjustment to the motion? Aaron, let the record show that that motion passes 4-0. Now, do I have any other questions on the capital request as read by the superintendent? Can I get a show of hands to approve that motion? Aaron, let the record show that that motion passes 4-0. I did that right?
I think you did.
We discussed it, we brought it up, we motioned it, we discussed that, we approved the adjustment. And then we voted on the, we haven't had to do this very often, so
Yeah,
I think we did.
I think you
We got
did.
it right.
I think we did.
We
Okay,
adjusted, we
Yeah.
voted.
The intent was there.
right,
That's
we
what the
need
law
to have
says,
it,
the
we need to
intent.
have it,
Right, but it's
recorded
still the
correctly.
intent, still the intent.
we're good. All right. We good?
Yes.
Okay. F,
Move to approve Maya Health Benefits Trust STGRSD renewal proposal FY 26 to the current rates and renewal rates recommended.
So
Second.
all right, quick, and what is it that this is the
14.46%
the increase, right?
yeah, I
increase.
feel like we.
It's out of our control, we don't have an option on this.
No.
Right.
Other than that, can I get a show of hands to approve this motion that we really can't do anything? with?
Right.
They're right there.
Aaron, let's.
And I feel like I was just looking at. the
4-0.
rates Today, where were they?
Right
They in
here.
our packet, but not in our.
Yeah, the red D,
Are they in our packet?
14.26% and then
the last page.
dental 7.79%.
Yeah.
And
Just looked
we're,
at it, improved it and signed it, so I know it's been looked at.
do we data in terms of like what percentage of our members are taking each of these options?
We've been discussing it at negotiations.
Okay. Is there a predominant one?
No, actually,
It's actually pretty well distributed
Yeah.
amongst, okay, interesting.
it is.
I've had Betsy pull this a couple of times. We don't, you guys, they don't have it available tonight.
Right. No, I was just curious if there was like one that was predominantly selected or if, you know, our members take advantage of all of them.
No, the one I was shocked with is the no deductible. That a lot of our people choose the no deductible plan. But your,
Premium should be
the
through the
premium
roof.
is higher. And if you don't use your insurance that much, you're kind of overpaying for a service that you don't really need. So my suggestion is to check and see how much it would cost. To go, it's only a 250 deductible plan for single and maybe 500 for a family. And there's a savings to it. Yeah, I'm just shocked with, and we can do a flex spending card as well. Like I do a flex spending account as well.
But if
So-
do we have a high
And that's-
deductible option or no? Do we have one that's a high deductible? Because if they have that, they
Yes.
can do a you can do a whole FSA account.
We
where
do
you
have
don't-
a high.
You don't lose it. And there's
How-
lots of benefits from that end.
How frequently does a representative from
Mine, right?
Maya come and speak to the teachers and administrators and people who take advantage of this, so that they know their options and what their options entail?
They have in the past.
Yeah, like once a year usually.
I mean, they come and meet with me and Betsy.
Do
What
we have like an
about
open
like?
enrollment thing?
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
the Betsy.
that'll be
goes-
happening.
Betsy has a little show
Yeah.
goes to each row and just hits and.
But there aren't
I
representatives that
think,
go
no,
to
the
each
Maya
building?
person will
They
be
can,
there for
we
open
want it.
enrollment.
Yeah.
Cause her and Betsy were kicking dates around via email that we could
Okay.
both land
Cause
on.
I know in my building, like they come multiple times a year and like they like set up shop in the teacher's lounge and teachers just like go in.
Is that for
talk to
life
them.
insurance?
Yeah, that's probably for like 403B.
Yeah.
Right,
Health
exactly.
insurance usually. Usually they'll come during open enrollment.
Yeah,
I mean, Betsy and I met with our Maya rep, I don't know, probably about a month ago at this point.
Okay.
I mean, there's different things you can do to adjust the rates, you can raise or lower deductibles, you can do that kind of stuff,
Right.
but a lot of that's gonna require bargaining
Mhm.
okay,
as well, so like, there really wasn't anything we could do
Got it.
now.
got it.
Did we approve this one yet? We did.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
did.
we did. Yes, we did, 400. I'm like, hang on a second, I don't wanna leave without us approving the last one. All right, subcommittees. Negotiations, we have another meeting
Thursday.
coming up this week?
Thursday.
This week, right? There we go, Thursday. Finance, we're done. We're done, it's all in the hands of the voters at this point after the vote we just took tonight. LPVAC,
Can I just say
yeah.
that Nick came in and just jumped right into this budget and did a really fantastic job for just being here for 6 weeks, and I really wanna give him some kudos on that. Just dove in, figured out how to do everything, and
went to Granville.
went to
Did wonderful.
Granville.
And Southwick.
Yeah.
And just, it's really just been
I think we have an
an
awesome team.
amazing asset to the central office. So I just need to put that out there.
Is there a 60-day review that's done or something like that?
We just
I think-
had it.
I think you passed. All right, awesome. Policy, we just gave you guys an update on that. Buildings and grounds, we just had, not that, a week or so ago, we are going to, we had the grounds project re-presented to us. So we need to, we have not brought that to the school committee, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm anxious.
So that
to
would be,
hear where
that would be
we're
the
at.
next, yeah, I don't have any problem, I think maybe we can do that before the end of the year, bring it.
Yeah,
What I'd like to do is, this is not, and we've accomplished exactly what I wanted for us to be,
okay, which was.
to take a look at the options,
Mhm.
see what kind of solutions that are out there.
Mhm.
Then this is gonna open up a bigger debate that we're gonna need to engage all the towns, we're gonna engage a lot more shareholders into this to see what people's thoughts and feelings are on this. There are probably three different routes that we can go down to accomplish this. So I think the options that we've got are needed. We need to, it was something that I do know that was on the original grounds, the building renovation plan, that they decided to not move forward with it because of the cost of the building renovations at the time, and that it was gonna be looked at a later date. Not only kind of got missed by 10 years, and now it's a later date. So it's probably something we should look at, but the ultimate solution, I don't know. But we can certainly give a yeoman's presentation to the school committee. And then really the plan would be for next year to open this up for discussion, do some presentations at the towns, get some feedback, and ultimately, hopefully get to a point where we're looking to put forth a proposal next year for the towns to look at. We decide what we want to do. Good. Yes.
No, I mean, I'm just curious to hear
Yeah.
where we're at right now.
Absolutely. IoT.
Last meeting was canceled, so our next meeting is next week?
Is it
Is it next week already? Oh my God.
week after?
Wellness, anything on wellness, everybody say
Great.
sick?
Wellness, we just had a meeting and we had the people from early intervention come and talk about that transition for 3-year-olds to preschool. And the different needs that they're seeing with the early intervention piece and what that's gonna mean for us with the new kids starting preschool on their 3rd birthday.
Is this a change for us? Are we now, we're gonna be seeing more kids with a lot more needs.
So we've already had some kids coming who we haven't seen, kids with significant health issues, for example. So we always transition students on their 3rd birthday to preschool, from early intervention to our intervention.
okay, that was my question.
Yeah, no, that's
Is
always-
age
no,
3
no.
younger than normal?
No, age 3 is how it's always done.
Okay.
You're eligible to go to preschool on your 3rd birthday,
Yeah.
and transition from early intervention to an IEP.
Some of the challenges seem to be a little bit more intense.
Yes, and so they were talking a little about what they're seeing for more intense challenges that these students have, a lot more medically fragile kids. With a lot more needs than we've had in the past.
Sven? Technology? Advisory committee, we just did. Capital committee.
We had our last meeting,
We
last
had the-
Tuesday,
We
the
had the
18th.
last meeting, it wasn't that long ago, we were just gonna have a meeting, now it's the
Well,
last one.
all we do is basically review capital requests over $25,000.
Okay.
I think, I lost track. I think, it was up to over $30 million requested. One of the big ones, of course, is fiber optics. It's a $15 million ticket. Roads was requested at, I think, $4.5 million. Those are the 2 big ones. Some requests, that are gonna go in front of,
CPC.
right, for a restoration project.
Yep.
You know, for Wally Park, so apparently restoration project are
The hot ticket this year.
correct, right terminology.
So along that line, did we figure out when the Tolland and the Granville town meetings are? Are they after or before Southwick?
They're almost always before.
But
Right.
I think there are 2 different nights.
They
One's
are,
the 12th
so
and
let's
one's the
see here.
13th. Granville's 12th, Collins is.
And ours is until the 20th, right, or something like that?
Slate,
So,
Very late.
Yep.
so the challenge, and that we already addressed it in the thing, right? Because in the capital request, the track is included in there.
correct.
At the town meeting for Southwick, there will be a proposal on the table for the track to be paid for by CBC money. If that is approved and voted on at the town meeting by the town of Southwick, we will immediately adjust the capital request that is made at the town at that night for the capital for Southwick. And then what we'll do is we'll notify the town of Granville and the town of Collin if that CPC money was approved, and therefore, I don't know technically how you adjust it or amend it, but you guys will be able to amend that capital request as well.
And our select boards are aware of that.
Right, they were told that, so. So just some little logistics that we've got to go through, but All right, so we'll stay tuned. We'll know soon
Right, just as
whether
a
that's gonna work.
footnote, there is a public meeting tomorrow night, Town Hall, 6:30.
About
On
the
fiber
Wi-Fi, right?
optic.
Yeah.
You know. It's, you know, obviously Comcast or Xfinity, whoever, other representatives are spending a
A
lot
lot
of
of
money.
money to not have this go through.
Correct, a lot of,
Competition is something they don't seem to be really wanting to do.
giving out free laptops, so. So, it should be an interesting, Westfield's,
They'll be there to.
they're gonna
sort of-
be there to present. What they do and how they've done it in other communities and we've already.
Do you? Fast? Well, see, that's it, like here in town, we have basically one option.
Right, well, the
for
voters,
high-speed Wi-Fi. or
voters have
high-speed.
already approved bonding up to $3 million.
Great.
Plus, we had close to $1 million, we didn't call it ESSER funds,
Free cash or whatever.
no, not.
Oh, government grant.
COVID, ARP, see how fast they forget things?
Yes, we all have.
You did. You've ruined me with this ESSER thing, you know, but, so we put aside $1 million, close to 980,000. So if we don't use that, we lose it, has to go back to the federal government, so, and the way it's set up is, it's paid by users.
Yeah.
Bond issue wouldn't cost a taxpayer
Right.
any money unless everything went.
I have a feeling they're gonna find more people that are gonna wanna use this than less, so.
And what is it?
Basically-
$69.95 a month for amazing Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And what is the company?
We're just getting used to it.
Whip City stuff.
Whip City fiber.
And now, if we get it here, it would make it an easy hop, skip, and a jump to go up the hill. And you know what, I mean, Ted, I don't know what Tom would do if you guys actually got high-speed Whip City internet. I mean, you just got internet.
Yeah, we're just having fun now.
Yeah. I mean, Ted's finally off of AOL. I mean,
I've got everything I ever need. I don't want anything
you
new.
could get high speed though, Ted.
For
And
what?
faster access.
For what?
I don't
For your
remember.
grant.
Customer service.
Yeah.
Their customer service is like one of the best.
Oh, that's
They're so great.
I mean, when you have.
Hopefully Comcast is not watching this meeting. We're gonna get Comcast coming to public comment next time. All right, here we go. Public comment. Anybody that are here would like to address the school committee? Now is your opportunity. All right. Old business. This part of the meeting usually goes pretty quick. New business. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Right? Raise a hand. Aaron with the record show. Motion passes 4-0. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time.